You are listening to X-Wing Radio.
Hello there. I'm David, that's Wesley, and you just tuned in to X-Wing Radio, your bi-weekly podcast from a galaxy far, far away.
General Kenobi. You must realize you are doomed. All right. Anyways,
Trained in the Jedi arts by Count Dooku.
yeah. Then Obi-Wan goes, I chained the guy who killed Count Dooku, all right? Shut up. Anyways. So this past weekend, we are recording it this past weekend, but this past weekend, David, a very monumental thing happened in Star Wars history.
Kathleen Kennedy retired?
Close. Well, not close. We were close to that happening, or at least the report said that we were. No, we weren't. We aren't that lucky. Although, to be fair, I mean, she's maybe done something good recently with the fact that she's allowed the original 6 movies to be re-released. Not all of them, but like last year, The Phantom Menace was re-released for its 25th anniversary. And this year, Revenge of the Sith was re-released for its 20th anniversary. I feel like this is definitely a move to get Star Wars fans back into Star Wars by getting them to go to the movies to see movies that they are going to like.
Because I guarantee you, in 3 years, 2027,
2 years.
that will be the... Holy crap, dude.
I did the same thing the other day. I was talking about it and I was like, because so Star Wars Celebration is going to be in LA in 2027 for the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. Baby, that's coming up, 50th anniversary. Okay.
That's where I was hinting at there, but not Star Wars Celebration. You finish talking, I'll get where I was going.
But anyways, I was talking about Star Wars Celebration. I was talking to Sarah. I said, yeah, in 3 years we need to go to Star Wars Celebration in LA. Like, we need to make sure that we're there because like we got enough time to plan for that. And she was like, you mean 2 years? And I was like, huh? She said it's 2025. I was like, what? So yeah, time is weird, David. Time is weird. Continue with your thought. 2 years though.
2 years. Yeah, in 2 years, A New Hope will be 50 years old. And I guarantee you they're going to re-release that in theaters.
Oh, they better. They better. And I mean, like, that you got to.
Yeah, and I will be the first one to go watch it in theaters.
Ever? I feel like you're going to have some You're going to have some competition with people trying to be there before you.
I mean, to be fair, yes. we watched Revenge of the Sith opening night too, so you know.
Yeah. David, did you end up going to see The Phantom Menace when it was out last year?
No, I did not.
I got blindsided by it. I actually ended up. So this was about a year ago. Okay, and for anyone who's not aware of my personal life, I'm not going to make you that privy to it, but this one little instance, a year ago, I had a very, very pregnant wife because here in a day or so, actually, what's today? So from this being released, about 2 days from when this is going to be released, is my daughter's birthday. So it was sometime in the middle of April when the movie was released. Okay, and I was not very aware of things, and then I looked on Instagram, and all of a sudden it said, yeah, Phantom Menace is being re-released in theaters. I was like, huh? So I looked it up, and it was at the Swamp Fox. and I think it only had like maybe one more day of showing when I like actually
Mm.
was able to watch
Yeah,
it.
because
But I'm a little annoyed now that they didn't do anything for the for Attack of the Clones. Like I understand the Attack of the Clones is the worst prequel and that people still might hate on it some. I still want to see it in theaters, you know?
mm,
I'll sit through the corny dialogue and the romantic scenes. I don't care. Just give me the movie in theaters. Take my
yeah,
money.
like I said, in like 2 years we're gonna start getting the original trilogy in at like yeah theaters,
My
which
goal is
that's
to
going to
see
be amazing.
my goal is to see all of the Star Wars movies in theaters and I all the originals. I've seen all the other ones in theaters, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But I want to
Yeah,
see all the Star
so
Wars movies in theaters.
okay, I was thinking about that when we were sitting there watching it, and we're not gonna get too much into Revenge of the Sith because it's Revenge of the Sith. Y'all have seen it. We've talked about it before on the podcast.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there watching it, and I'm just thinking like, this is the first Star Wars movie I have seen in theaters that wasn't a Disney movie.
Wow. Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. It I mean, to be fair, David, we've talked about this too, but like Disney bought out Lucasfilm in what, 2012? Something
Yeah.
like that. So we were like 10, 11 years old at that point.
Actually, no, I take that back. I will take that back. I did see the Clone Wars movie in theaters when it came out.
Ah, I didn't even know that was in theaters.
Yeah. So I will take that back. I did see the Clone Wars movie in theaters. But this is the first of the mainline Star Wars movies that I've seen in theaters that wasn't one of the Disney
You're
sequels.
saying that the Clone Wars isn't a mainline movie, David? What? What is this outrage?
It
How can you
doesn't
sit
have
on the council
episode.
and not be a master? How can you be one of the Star Wars movies and not be a mainline movie?
This is
It's
outrageous.
outrageous.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, right.
Okay, one thing I will say, I was kind of glad that the memes weren't like people didn't go crazy. Just after the whole Minecraft movie fiasco, which I don't know if you've
Okay, so
kept up with that.
I've seen
Uh,
enough about it. Um,
After all of that, I was a little worried that oh gosh, people are gonna go crazy when like the memes come around.
Here's the thing. It's a you got to understand what I'm saying, okay? When I say this, because what I'm gonna say is a slight bit laughable, especially with how the Star Wars fan base has been in recent years. The Star Wars fan base is a little bit too respectable, I feel like, to
Mm-hmm.
do something like that. Like this is everyone in the theater with us, and pretty much everyone who went and saw the movie across America, or I don't know if they showed it out of the states or what, but you know, this is our childhood. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody went into that movie. Most people didn't go into that movie. Like I would say at least 95% of people who went to that movie, it's their childhood. They love this movie. Okay? And like this is peak Star Wars to them almost. And
Yeah.
so like they're there who respect the movie. People who go to the Minecraft movie are there to make fun of it. So like that was one reason why I was like, when you mentioned that, I was like, I doubt that probably would happen or was gonna happen originally. But that was one thing is like, when we
Mm-hmm.
left, it looked like a normal movie at theater. There was obviously the people who are the slobs and dump popcorn on the floor, but like no one was actually like going out of the way to make a huge mess. So that was a good
Or
thing.
or or just
At least in our
or
theater.
like shout like the memes whenever they come around or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
People were just
the
enjoying it.
closest thing was I
Oh
actually
yeah.
did think this was kind of funny. So at the very beginning of the movie, uh like Hayden Christensen had like filmed, or they filmed Hayden Christensen giving this message or whatever before the movie, and at the end, he was like, I'm happy to present this 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, and at the end he's like, this is where the fun begins, and one guy in the back of the theater was like, "Hey, he said the thing," which I thought was funny.
It's hilarious. That's
Like,
one thing that's like really funny. Like, um, why movie theaters are such a great thing is because
mm,
like it's a shared experience with a bunch of people who you don't know. That's the same thing with like sporting
mm,
events, shared experiences with a bunch of people you don't know. But like movie theater wise, like I'm trying to think. There was one movie that me and Sarah went to see. Actually, it might have been even longer ago to the point where it was like the Marvel movies back when we were watching those. Um,
mm,
but like, there would be a line said. And I think I remember one time like a kid made a remark, like loud enough for everyone to hear, and the whole entire audience just bursted out laughing because of like the kid making a remark about the movie or whatever, about the line that was said or something like that. And it's just like those are like shared experiences. And I'm never gonna.
mm.
Okay, actually, I live in a small town. I will probably come in contact with the people again. I will never knowingly come in contact with these people ever again, you know. And it's like, but we all have one shared experience, and it's a fun thing to think about. And if we were just sitting on the couch watching that movie, we wouldn't have laughed so much about that guy saying the line because it didn't happen. Did you see though
Mm.
that apparently there was a showing or two that Hayden Christensen and Samuel L. Jackson went to, and they were like they like
Yeah,
crashed the showing. I was like, man, how do you get lucky enough to be to be in that theater? You know,
yeah. I was waiting for it, but I guess that can't be everywhere at once.
I know. He gets done with his message and he jumps through the screen. But
I mean, come on,
yeah,
I was expecting like Hayden Christensen or Ewan McGregor to just show up and
yeah, something. I mean, there's multiple actors in it. Just give us one of them. Just one of them.
mm.
Um,
But yeah, also another thing that I thought was kind of funny was there. I mentioned this to you yesterday, but there was a couple sitting kind of behind and to the side of me, and I think this was the first time this woman saw Revenge of the Sith because okay, in the opening sequence when they're rescuing uh Palpatine, um when Palpatine is like, "Good, Anakin, good, kill him." I heard the reaction like, "Oh," and then it was like, and then when he actually did it, it was like, "Cool." I was like, "Oh."
I don't know if it was a big screen or if it just they touched up parts of the movie. I swear I saw his head a whole lot more than I ever have with it. Like I like full on saw the face and then it hit the ground and then like there were certain things about this movie I was like, am I just seeing this in a new light because it's on the big screen?
Mhm.
Or am I is it actually they touched some things up? But yeah, that's when you find out, David, though, that lady has like seen it a million times, but she makes the same reaction every single time and is like genuine
Honestly,
about it.
honestly, that could very well be the case.
But that's definitely a funny thing,
Mhm.
someone seeing it for the first time and their reaction to stuff like that. Um, Now, David, I know obviously we've talked about the movie before, and we have breakdowns of it, and we will do probably more in the future and talk about plenty of things pertaining to this. But since we are on the topic of Revenge of the Sith, um, I do have a couple questions I want to ask you, and then a genericness I want to ask everyone else on their thoughts on the matter. Um, and there are obviously things that we might learn later on down the road from books, novels, whatever, comics, and yada yada yada. First one that's sticking out in my mind is, what are your thoughts on this? So the clones who went to the temple with Anakin, the 501st, with
Mhm.
with Anakin there, were they under Order 66 or were they simply following Anakin? And if they were under Order 66, did Palpatine have to give them special orders that Anakin was with them?
That is a very good question,
I'm
which I
surprised
don't
it's
know that I know the answer.
what's your thoughts? Not necessarily that there is an answer, because there may not be an actual answer to it. I just am curious to see what your thoughts on the matter would be.
I would assume that they were still there under Order 66.
And just viewed Anakin as now Darth Vader, in league with the Emperor, who they are loyal to.
Yeah, pretty
I,
much.
I feel like that would have to be the most logical explanation for it, simply because of, like, obviously, this was made in 2005. Clone Wars came out in 2008. So, this was not made with Clone Wars in mind. But with the Clone Wars in mind, I feel like that's the only way you can really uh explain this.
Mm.
Um,
But I don't know, I feel like another thing is like so okay, I know all of the like name, you don't like Clone War in relation to Clone Wars. I know all the named clones, all the ones we've gotten attached to in the 501st weren't with Anakin at this point. All of them were off with Ahsoka.
yeah,
Um, but still, just judging by the clones we did know in the 501st, I can't imagine that many of them would be too thrilled about killing a bunch of Jedi, even if they were following Anakin. I feel
yeah.
like they had a ton of loyalty and respect for Anakin, but if Anakin was going off on killing
Mhm.
younglings, I think they would have hey, this isn't you.
This isn't right.
Something's not
Yeah.
right here. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I do agree with that. And that's my main line of thought with this is I feel like the clones from at least the Clone Wars would have an issue, even the nameless ones in the 501st would have an issue with doing what they did. And under Order 66, it might even been a thing where uh Anakin even went to them and said, "Hey, we are going to go execute Order 66 on the Jedi Temple." You know, and that could have been a thing with it too. Um, Also, another thing we discussed a good bit last night was the timeline of this movie. Okay,
Mm,
how long does this movie take place over? Now, I came to the conclusion last night. Me and Sarah were talking about it that it makes the most sense, Star Wars lore wise, that we do one of two things. We accept that the Clone Wars is right, and that the movie only takes place over a couple of days or maybe weeks at most, and that they just got it wrong with her prosthetics, in the movie for Padme being pregnant, because throughout the movie she kind of changes scene to scene with how pregnant she is. And
mm,
by the end of the movie, she is nowhere near pregnant enough to be having twins. So we could just say, like it happens a lot of times in movies, it doesn't fit the real world. They messed up a little bit in that department. Or or we could do both with this. Um, that the movie still takes place over a couple of days or weeks,
mm.
but Star Wars pregnancies happen differently. I mean, it's a galaxy far, far away. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be a completely
You,
different.
I feel like you're giving me a little bit early with a window for that segue. But Andor.
What?
You said Andor.
Yeah, I did, and I thought about that. I'm not ready to start talking about Andor. Um, because I have another bone to pick, not necessarily with you, but in general. So, I did
You're
want
gonna
to
be
get to
picking
one.
bones here.
I'm gonna be picking
You're gonna be pick.
bones, David.
Oh, okay.
So
Um, but uh,
so yeah,
but yeah. I mean, it is odd that like you said, the prosthetics kind of like got bigger and then like smaller at the end. It's like what? That doesn't.
yeah. She looked very, very pregnant with the. If I'm remembering correctly, it's like with the scene where she's talking to Obi-Wan. It's like, this lady's about to pop, and then she goes to Mustafar, and it's like, oh, so you're like, just showing, you know. Um, but maybe it's just something with the gravity. Maybe the gravity's different on different planets, and that has something to do with it. Don't ask
Uh,
how it relate. Just go with it, David. I can guarantee you George was in the room and was like, well, we have to change how she looks because gravity on different planets is different. And they're like, George, that's not how it works. He says, no, no, no. This is what we're doing.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past George. Let, let's 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 be honest. I
uh,
mean, George.
he's very detail oriented, I feel like. It's just sometimes it doesn't matter. Um,
Like, I don't know. There were several times throughout this movie. Like, okay, most of you probably know already. Like the Wilhelm scream. That is a trope that's in almost every Star Wars movie. I think all the Lucasfilm ones. I don't know. I don't remember it being in any of the Disney ones, but it's
I
in
think
all the
it's
Lucasfilm ones.
I've seen Force Awakens more, and I feel like I remember being in that one. I cannot speak on the other ones though.
Yeah, but
Continue though.
I forget where it was, but I remember hearing it in like watching this movie. I think
It
it was
might have
early
been on
on.
Utapau. I was thinking. Uh, the 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 starfighter fight above. I think it might have happened when one of the clone ships was hit and
Hmm.
they're being tossed around. I think it might have happened there. Anyways, your
Yeah,
point.
but yeah, the Wilhelm scream is in almost every Star Wars movie, or isn't every all the George Lucas Star Wars movies. Like, if you remember in A New Hope, it's in A New Hope when the stormtrooper falls, like when Luke and Leia are swinging across.
Mm.
There's the Wilhelm scream. Like, it's in every single one. Actually, that would actually be kind of a cool thing to like, you know,
Just watch the
I don't
Wilhelm
know,
screams.
like play play Star Wars bingo, and then just like get the Wilhelm scream every as one of your things. I don't know. I don't know why bingo was the first thing I thought of.
I was about to say, David, I feel like you had a thought, but it was not very fleshed out, and you just started talking. That's actually pretty normal for you.
Yeah. Or you could just make it a drinking game, honestly, like,
There you go. There you go. Bingo, but instead it's like drunko. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean that
Nope.
that is definitely an interesting thing there. With that, but like I said, there's a lot of things like that where George had a very specific sense of humor,
Yeah.
and
I feel like you and him would get along great. You know,
maybe I don't know, but
making those jokes that nobody else is gonna get because it's really not that funny, but you're gonna make them anyways. Um. Okay, David, I got a bone, and then we can move on from Revenge of the Sith, the 20-year-old movie that we've talked about at least once on this channel, probably more so. Ah. I am going to never die on this hill because I am going to be guarding it. So, I don't know what the word would be. It's too early in the morning for me to think like this. I'm going to not die on this hill, but I'm going to die on this hill of Palpatine through the fight with Mace Windu. I am even more firm in that stance after rewatching this and after re-listening to the Plagueis novel.
I definitely like rewatching this. I see it.
Like, here's the thing. This was the culmination of the Sith grand plan, 1,000 years in the making. Palpatine was one of the most conniving, scheming of the Sith ever. Like, Plagueis and the Plagueis novel, going back to this, we can talk about the fact that it's not canon. I don't care. He makes a comment that Palpatine probably rivals or is even more conniving than Bane was in his time. Okay? That's pretty conniving. I mean, Bane was a master tactician and planning and everything. But Sidious played both sides of the war. He had all these things going through. He got himself, technically, into the chancellorship through manipulation, and then turned it into an empire. Killed all the Jedi. Remember this. Think about this. Essentially, Sidious single-handedly took down the Jedi. Essentially, I mean, you can say obviously the clones were fat, but like he manipulated all these plans. Someone's
Mm.
coming into our recording.
That's me. Don't worry about
It's you. It's you. Uh,
Yeah.
well, now you're echoing.
it. Yeah, hang on.
It's not distracting at all. Okay, so
There we go.
my thought with this is Palpatine is not going to leave the destiny of the Sith in one fight. The only reason that he didn't cut down Mace Windu as quickly as he cut down the rest of them, one is Mace Windu is better, but two is because he knew that Anakin was coming. If Anakin was ended up being like, actually Mace Windu, you're right, we should kill him, and he takes his lightsaber out and they both start to swing at him, I have a feeling that Palpatine would either slip off the balcony to get away, or somehow or another would have obliterated them with Force lightning. Like, I don't think that Palpatine left any of this up to chance. I am renewed in my words are hard, David. English is hard. But no, the thing is like nobody. Okay, here's the thing too. I made this comment to Sarah last night, and this is something that if anyone who actually cares ever watches this, or if I ever make a short about this, this is what someone's gonna say. George Lucas said that Mace Windu actually won. Like George Lucas said it. Are you gonna tell Samuel L. Jackson that he lost in a fight? Who's gonna do that? Who's gonna look Samuel L. Jackson in the eyes and say, "No, you lost"? I don't have the balls for that. George Lucas doesn't have the balls for that. So that being
Yeah, I
said,
mean, I'm just saying, even they were friends, but like even then, it's like
you don't tell
you know.
him. You don't tell him he lost in a fight. No, you tell him, no, you're right. You won. You won that thing. I'm gonna say that in
Mm,
interviews now because I don't want him to come and hunt me down, Liam Neeson style. You know,
mhm.
I don't know how he was able to kill Liam Neeson. But anyways, it's one of those things where it's like, honestly, too, George is so contradictory. Love him to death. He made one of the my favorite things in media. But
Mhm.
if he truly believes Mace Windu won, he's wrong. I'm sorry. Lore
Yeah.
wise, he needs to check his lore. Anyways, moving
Mhm.
on.
Yeah.
My rant is over.
One kind of final thing I have to talk about, actually in relation to that fight, was maybe it was like you said, being in the theater setting, but like everyone laughed like a lot at the Palpatine's just like you know and stuff like all of his noises and stuff that he makes throughout that fight. But also,
Hilarious.
one thing I thought of too, that like in relation to the fight itself, you talking about Palpatine throwing the fight.
Yeah.
You do realize Palpatine was winning, or at least like had kind of had was actually like just kind of toying with Mace Windu until Anakin got back to the Senate.
Yeah. I'm even pretty sure that in the novelization, which I think technically is not canon, but in the novelization, he even talks about that, like from Palpatine's side of things, where it's like he's kind of toying with him. He's dragging it
Mm,
along because he knows Anakin's coming. You know, like it's all a manipulation. He's not going to place. Here's the thing. I understand Vapod, okay? I understand the concept of it. I understand that Mace Windu is a master of it, okay? Palpatine is a master of all forms of Jedi combat, of lightsaber combat, and he detests the use of a lightsaber, which means that he's probably more powerful in the ways of the Force. Mace Windu's not coming out of an actual fight with Darth Sidious alive, and it's probably not even a long fight
mhm,
because at this point, I mean, here's the thing: M- d- Palpatine bested Yoda.
mhm,
Yoda's freaking 800 years old. Like, he's been doing this for a while, and Sidious comes in here casually and is like, "Oh, okay, and then like just, I mean, I think again in the Plagueis novel, Palpatine calls himself the Sithari, which essentially
mhm,
is the Sith chosen one. Now, is he or is he not? That's neither here nor there. But if he can even claim the title, I mean, he's got to be pretty powerful. I don't think that Mace Windu rivals him in power in any way. Vapod notwithstanding. So, anyways, my rant is over. We've talked about this before in length, and I'm
mhm.
sure that I will come back and die on this hill once again, but live again.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know if you have anything else to talk about with Revenge of the Sith. We've beaten that horse for like many episodes. Um,
Yeah. And I
but
I actually do hope to at some point go back through the movies with listening to the books, reading through the books to talk about those perspectives of things. So we're gonna
mhm,
talk about these even more so in the future. I guarantee it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, it was a cool experience, but it's a 20-year-old movie, so it's been talked to death.
yeah. We've talked about that movie a ton. But moving on to slightly different topic. I know generally we like to try to do news first, but there is a heck of a lot of Star Wars news that has come out since the last time we recorded.
Star Wars
So,
Celebration wrapped up like last week, so we got a
okay,
lot.
but so just for reference for anyone listening to this, I know we uploaded a video 2 weeks ago, or we uploaded a podcast 2 weeks ago. We have not recorded in a month. So there's been a lot that has come out since the last time we recorded.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I even think that we made the comment in the last episode that we did that, well, there's nothing to talk about with the news.
yeah.
But when the episode came out, I was even thinking about that because I think either that Sunday or that Monday, I was looking at it and I was like, huh, yeah, there's a lot to talk about right now.
Yeah. So, let's kind of go take a step back because there are two things that I feel like we need to talk about that with the for Star Wars Celebration, all the Star Wars Celebration stuff. Um, and actually, we've tried this in the past to watch trailers. I think I've got it finally working to a point where we can actually watch trailers. So Wesley, I don't know if you see that, but I actually have a stream up. Um,
I see the
like
stream. I
sharing a
can I
screen.
can I can click I
Yeah.
can click watch
Yeah.
stream. Let's see what watch stream
Yeah.
gives me.
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah. So, um, I actually have not seen. I've seen clips from it, but I actually have not watched any of the Andor trailers. I know you said you've watched the first two episodes already. We will talk
yes.
more about that next week.
I was gonna
I
say,
know.
we do need to preference the fact that as of recording this, Andor season 2 is out, but we have not watched it yet, and we will probably end up getting to that. Um, I guess it'd be the first 6
Mhm.
episodes
Next
coming
week.
not next
Next
week,
next time.
next
2 weeks.
time.
In 2 weeks.
Be
In 2 weeks. Yeah.
bi-weekly podcast.
Because
All right.
well, I don't just for a little bit of I guess that we've got finals week this week and next
Yeah,
week, or this past week and next week. So I have had like zero time to watch anything. So most of
busy,
this
busy,
is
busy.
actually going. Most of this is actually going to be my genuine first reaction to a lot of these trailers.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I said, a lot of this is actually going to be my genuine like first reaction to a lot of this stuff. So anyway,
yeah. I
so
believe I've
this
seen
is
this
actually
trailer and
yeah,
one
this is
other
the
one. So,
yeah, there's another trailer I think. I'll try to find that in a second. But this is actually the first time I'm watching this trailer. So
say the music is not very Star
We're in a
Wars
war.
feeling.
You want to fight
I like it though. It's cool.
Yeah,
or you want to win? Last night a dream that the world had turned. All I hope
come on,
come
come on.
to be.
What's his face?
Revolution starts now.
What a swell party this is.
Get to see a little more of the Death Star being built.
Yeah, I feel like it's
Remember this moment. You're here, you're right here, and you're ready to fight.
So, I know that they've been talks about it. So anyone listening to this, excuse my ignorance if I am saying something that I should already know. I know that the series is supposed to have time jumps and is supposed to get us to where Cassian is at before Andor.
mhm.
The thing that I am
You mean
not
before
entirely
Rogue One? You
sure
mean?
of, what did I say, Andor? Right before Rogue One. The only thing I'm not sure about is if the 3 episodes come out every week. For a total of 12 episodes. Um, so with that in mind, I don't know if there's a time jump between each set of episodes, or if like I would assume there being time jumps. At the very least, they would have to be like either 3 episodes or a time jump between each other, or it's 6 episodes time jump 6 episodes. I have a feeling it's probably more the 3 and 3, but I'm not entirely sure on that. And again, excuse my ignorance if that's something that I should know. I can't remember everything. Like David said, I gotta get the headspace right for finals. Gotta
Mhm.
throw out all the rest of the useless knowledge, and then once I get done with finals, I can throw out all that useless knowledge. Anyway,
Yeah, there's a lot of other like I don't know. We got a
types
lot
of
of stuff
trailers.
going on. Yeah. I'm trying to find the
Hmm.
other Andor trailer. Here.
Go to like Star Wars page.
That's what this is.
Oh, well then that
Yeah.
makes it even worse because you can't find anything.
This might be the one we just watched. Yes.
No, it's a different
Is
one.
that the one? Okay.
It's not the same music.
Yeah. I'm gonna get that up to.
I came with you to be part of something. The Empire cannot win.
This feels more like Star Wars. The music was fine in the other one.
It's a different
But-
kind of mission. If it goes up in flames, it will burn very brightly.
I'm giving up everything. I want to win.
That's how flames
We
work.
have to.
True.
We must stand together. We will be crushed.
Resistance is absurd.
It's a weapon. They're building a weapon. The monster will come for us all.
Revolution is not for the saying. You're right here,
There's a Yeti.
and you're ready to fight.
There's a future here for those who dare.
Welcome to the rebellion.
Again,
I will
I
say
know
this.
it was
I will say
May
this.
22nd or April 22nd, but we've already
April 22nd.
like we said we have
I will say for this, I do want to make this comment. Having that I have gone and watched the first 2 episodes, um,
mm,
it gets off to a much faster start than the season 1, which should be expected, being that this season comes in after having everything established last season. But don't worry, like it's not like it's going to be a repeat of last season where things just take a little while to get into. Like this is going to be a thing where like you're hopping right onto it. You're hopping on a moving train kind of a deal, and it's
mhm,
seems like it's going to be a pretty fun ride. So
yeah. Now, one thing I
excited to see
saw
how
like
this goes.
throughout that second trailer, there were several points where you see a bunch of where you see security droids.
hmm
I'm wondering if K2SO is going to be in this.
Probably, especially if we are going to end up in uh like right before Rogue One, being that they have
Hmm.
had a relationship before this.
Yeah. Um.
It also makes you wonder if we're going to be getting right up to Rogue One. We're going to see a lot of characters die.
Hmm.
A lot of main characters die because they're not in Rogue One. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that they have to die, but they have to get written off somewhere.
Well,
So
let's see. Cassian and Saw Gerrera are both in, and I guess Mon Mothma are both in um Rogue One, are all in Rogue One, and of course Mon Mothma survives, and then other than that, those are the only three characters that really have to make it out of season out of
and
this
then on
season.
the other side, all we have is what's his name?
Krennic.
Krennic. So
Yeah.
all the rest of those officers could die as well. There was that one scene that they showed there with the girl officer being strangled. I need to get better at the namings of people, but I'm not. So why start now? Um, but she was getting choked, presumably, probably by Vader. So
Mm.
we never know what might have happened to these people. The Death Star being built, that has been something that Star Wars has been kind of focusing on recently, with the Death Star plans being built and all that stuff. Which I did have the thought, and this kind of came from the movie last night, but it took them 20 years to build the first Death Star, but only
Mm.
like 2 or 3 to build the second Death Star. Do you think, and this makes more sense, so I'm going to say that this is going to probably be my reaction. Do you think that possibly they had already started building a second Death Star when the first one blew up, and that maybe they were going to build multiple Death Stars? I think that would make more sense for why the second one was so quickly put up.
So this is a problem that I think. Well, not that I think. This is a problem that George created
hmm
because at in A New Hope, one, you don't know how long the Death Star has been like built. Like
How long it took? It just got finished because they're testing things.
yeah. But you don't know how long it took to build. So, they blow it up, and then 5 years later, at the end of the war, okay, sure, they've got another one that's not finished yet. Sure.
Yeah.
But then come to find out in Revenge of the Sith that they started building it 20 years before A New Hope.
Honestly, even maybe before that, because more than likely it started getting built during the Clone Wars, being that Dooku had plans for the Death Star.
Yeah.
And how far along this one was, you know, it could have been who knows how long.
Yeah. So
It does throw some wrenches into things. I don't know. I don't think that it would have been a bad idea for them to at some point been like, yeah. I mean, I feel like they probably still could. But be like, yeah, we were starting to build a second one when the first one blew up, or we already had a second one in the works because we wanted to make a fleet. You know, like I understand it cost a lot of money, but at the same time, you know,
okay.
you
Just
the emperor
imagine.
the emperor only has to pay for things if he feels like it. If you get ripped off by the emperor of the galaxy, I feel like you just kind of have to suck it up.
Hmm,
He
just
can kind of take what he
imagine.
wants.
Just imagine having a Death Star in like every sector of the galaxy,
Yeah.
and like
I mean, who knows what
if people the people on this planet rebel, oh, no more planet, no more rebellion.
that was easy. Yep.
I mean,
Eventually,
like
you might not have too many planets, but also eventually
okay,
you might not have
but
too many rebellions
if you have
or
but if you have
rebels.
but if you have a fleet of Death Stars, do you really need planets?
Fair enough.
I mean, yeah, but it is. I'm joking mostly with that, but it is definitely interesting, thinking about the implications of having multiple Death Stars.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm definitely curious to see where Andor is going to go. Um, kind of the direction that the season's going to take.
Yeah.
Um,
And what all we're going to end up seeing. Um, all very interesting things to see.
mhm,
And there's going to be a large portion of this audience that even David, by the time this comes out, I will probably have already watched all the episodes for this week. So it's going to be interesting to see how this continues. Forgive us for not being on top of things. Next time, sorry, we will be talking about Andor season 2
mhm.
in depth with all that's going on and things that we caught and stuff like that. So, David, I guess we can go ahead and move on from Andor because man, was there a ton of stuff
Yeah,
that Star Wars Celebration got into with
there
new
was
releases, new
another
projects.
thing before Star Wars Celebration that we haven't talked about yet.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I forgot that wasn't released at Star Wars Celebration. The Tales of the Underworld. We're getting another Tales, David. We have 3 Tales now.
I'm not sure I want any Tales.
You already got 3 of them.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, we have another Tales, and this one is, of course, Tales of the Underworld, which
I
this is
feel
the
like
one
we're
trailer
talking
I
about,
actually
but
so this is the one trailer that I actually have seen. So,
okay. This is I feel like we're talking about Sonic over here with Tails.
yeah,
Have another
yeah,
Tails. Anyways, all right. Heads or
yeah.
tails?
Anyway,
Shut me up, David, and play the trailer.
Just do as I say. Never can be too cautious with strangers out here. Then again, you're no
It's interesting seeing the difference in animation style.
Lady Ventress.
We got a problem here. Just saw him right in.
Blue little friend.
What's the situation?
He was your best friend. Things have changed.
You took everything from me.
Who are you?
I was Count Dooku's lead assassin. want that
Now,
life anymore.
I wonder where she got. Cause have they explained where she gets her yellow lightsaber from?
no, I don't think they have.
It's interesting. Yellow is the
I'm
choice that she goes with.
yeah, I'm also a little bit surprised that they didn't choose to try to like maybe bring some of the whole like Quinlan Voss stuff in with this too.
Well, that's the thing is they could still
Yeah.
allude to or talk about Quinlan Voss with this. This is just a trailer, so we don't know what actually is going to happen. I hope that they do. They don't have to tell the whole entire story of what's the name of the book?
Dark Disciple.
Dark Disciple. They don't have to tell the whole entire story, but I think they should allude to the fact that that's happening. Maybe even have Quinlan Voss make a appearance in it to show that, because I'm pretty sure he is supposed to survive Order 66, and kind of go into hiding and stuff like that. So I do think that would be cool to see. But I understand that that's probably not going to be their main focus in this show.
Yeah, we're about halfway through this. Let's.
Yeah.
You
finish
got
up.
something else to say? Okay.
I'll talk over it. Watch out, you're gonna backswing him.
Bane? No one
Is that the
needs to
second brother?
die.
No. Think so? No, that's not.
Get them.
Interesting. Another Jedi.
You're gonna pay for what you did. This revenge, I hope it was worth it. It will be.
It's an officer right there. I wonder if we're gonna see Boba Fett any of this. I feel like we should. You know, being it's a bounty hunter show focused. And I feel like we should at least get a cameo from someone like Boba Fett. It's interesting to see how in all these different shows the animation style changes slightly, but they still like stick to some of the same stuff, you know? Like that kind of seemed like a little bit more along the lines of something like Rebels, but still in the similar vein to like a mashup of Rebels and Clone Wars. You know? Like a little more cartoony, but still I don't know.
Now,
But it's
okay, so
interesting to see them do different styles with different shows.
So that is an interesting thing there too. So watching that, well, first of all, I know when we were talking about Bad Batch, I mentioned like, you know, the episode that had of interest in it. I'm just like, you know, are we gonna see like you know, an
Something to further
Inquisitor
her
show up,
story.
or something,
Oh yeah.
just so we can have like a, you know, some kind of duel? Because, you know, I thought, you know, if of course they didn't really end up doing much with Ventress after that episode, but you know, I was saying like, okay, if they're gonna introduce a lightsaber wielder, they're probably gonna have them have a duel at some point. But it's interesting that I kind of like inadvertently predicted the duel in this.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you know, a while back when we were, I think, talking about that, I made someone made the comment on the fact that like uh Ventress wouldn't have a hard time with an Inquisitor because of how skilled she should be. Now that might not be the case in this fight, but someone made a comment not too long ago on a short that I made about that and said, "Well, we're getting this show now, so we'll probably get to see that." So, you know, we're talking things into existence, David. So
Yeah,
we need to start
but
talking good Star Wars into existence.
yeah, because I know like when we were talking about that, like anything like with Ventress, and I would probably tend to agree that she is like anyone you want to have her fight, like post Order 66, it would probably have to be either an Inquisitor or Vader. And an
Yeah,
Inquisitor she shouldn't have too much trouble with, and Vader would only be if you want to kill her off. Um,
yeah. I,
like,
I feel like I feel like honestly, okay. So here's the thing you gotta think about. Like, and here's why I say that she would be like an Inquisitor would be no match for her. She went toe to toe, oftentimes at the same time with Obi-Wan and Anakin during the Clone
mm,
Wars. So she's not someone to be trifled with. Now, would she actually beat Vader? Well, no, because Vader has to keep going and survive. I think she could deal some damaging blows because Vader, while he is a little more powerful, not a little more powerful than her, a little more powerful than Anakin in certain aspects, he's also less agile than Anakin was.
but
So
also
she
I
could
think
get away with stuff like that.
but also I feel like Vader is more likely to just like Anakin during the Clone Wars was more willing to actually fight. What's the right word?
He would go for the kill. Vader.
Yes. Vader would actively try to kill her.
Yes.
Anakin was trying to disarm her, incapacitate her, whatever.
Yeah. I agree
Va-
with that. I agree with that. But I will say that I don't think that like a duel between her and Vader would have to end with her death because I feel like there could be a point where she figures out, oh hey, he's more powerful. He's too powerful for me to beat. So she works to get away from him and would be able to do
mm,
that. I feel like it
yeah.
would be interesting. I mean, obviously she could very easily die to Vader. She could also they could I could see it going either way. Like however they wanted to do it, if they wanted it to be a way that she gets killed off, or if they wanted it to be a way that she faces him, but then is able to escape. I could see both ways going because I think she's at that power level where and she might have come down a little bit since her time as a Sith, just because she maybe doesn't dwell in the Force as much. But uh, I could still see it being a thing where just because of the skill level she should have, I don't think Inquisitor should be an issue for her, and I think Vader would be a like it would be a good match for her, one that she would never win, but would still be a good fight.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think the Inquisitor thing would I think that like that comment we got a couple months ago. I do think Ventress could very easily defeat an Inquisitor because you know again you said she went toe to toe with Obi-Wan and Anakin, but I mean we'll still get an interesting fight. I feel like
Oh yeah,
a
they'll
good
definitely
fight.
make it an interesting fight. I just don't know if lore wise it makes as much sense. Now again, like I said, she may be significantly out of practice, being
hmm
that she hasn't been a part of the Sith for a
Yeah.
while. She's kind of detached herself from that. She's on her own. She's a bounty hunter now. So I think there would be some maybe recession in her skills of some
Mm.
kind. But
I mean,
you know,
in all reality, it should be Ventress versus an Inquisitor should be pretty much the exact same as Maul versus the Inquisitors that we saw in
yeah.
Rebels.
Now that being said, though, you could also put in this line of thought. Obi-Wan was one of the best duelists, uh, uh, because of his mastery of Sorsu. Wait, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah, Sorcerer.
the third fighting stance, whatever. Um, he was one of the best duelists at the time of the Clone Wars and yada yada yada. But when we see him in Kenobi, because of how
hmm
long it's been, he's a little rusty. So that could be a very similar thing that they do with Ventress, where she's a little rusty because she hasn't had to deal with this in a while, you know. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, and I'm interested to see the show. I am looking forward to this. These are two characters that I'm actually interested in, as opposed to Morgan Elsbeth and who was the other one I
Sophie.
talked about? Barasafi. I'm a
Now,
little more
okay.
interested in this.
Now, the one interesting thing is who is the kid.
Yeah.
Because so I've heard several different theories about like who the kid is. Um, one that I don't know if I necessarily believe yet, but is interesting, is what if the kid is actually Jude Law's character from Skeleton Crew?
Huh. That would be an interesting thing. I thought at first you were gonna say Kanan, which animation style, I don't know if he would look enough like him,
Hmm.
but they could potentially use it. But that's what I thought you were going to say. That would be an interesting tie-in for them to do that. Um, that would be a very interesting tie-in. But then they'd have to make a Skeleton Crew season 2 to like they'd have to make more about Skeleton Crew for those answers to be eventually fleshed out more, you know?
Hmm. I mean,
Being that this would take place.
I feel like they're going to anyway, just from the way they left Skeleton Crew.
Well, yeah, but are they going to with the way that while most people who watched the show enjoyed it, the way that most people just didn't care to tune in, you know?
That's
And I don't know
true.
if it had
That's
that
true.
great of a reception. Like, okay, it. I understand why people didn't watch it. If someone watched it and said it was bad, I don't really understand that. Now, if they can say it wasn't what I want, like what I wanted, or something I would watch, that's fine. But it still was a good show. So,
The
but that
biggest
doesn't mean
complaint,
that that was a
yeah,
reception that people gave.
the biggest complaint that I heard about from people who watched Skeleton Crew is that it was like very much so a kid show. But
Yeah.
Star Wars is for kids.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain about it being a kid show. It was actually like I thought it was very good. And yes, it
Yeah.
was like
A lot of funny
okay,
moments and stuff like that.
okay, maybe it was a little more kiddie than some of the other shows we've gotten, but I don't necessarily think that was a bad thing.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of good things to this. I do think, I mean, okay, we've talked about Skeleton Crew. I have voiced my opinions and my problems with the show. I do have some. But
Mhm.
overall, it's a fun story.
Okay, okay.
It's a good show. It's a kids show. Sure, it's a kids show. Kids shows can be good too. You know?
After the
Just-
Acolyte, I think we would have taken just about anything, but
Yeah.
I was very impressed with that show. And
Yeah.
again, maybe it was
I
just
got
because it was
into
right
it.
after the Acolyte. Yeah,
I
I did
got
too.
into it. It was
Um,
very fun to watch, and I was interested enough to continue watching it.
yeah,
Not just having to watch it because I knew we were going to talk about it.
yeah. Well, okay, and uh, I won't. I'm gonna stop talking about that because we've talked about it a lot before. And
Yeah.
I was about to just voice a lot of the stuff that I've already said. Go watch our episode from back in January about Skeleton Crew if you want to actually hear our full opinions about that show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So,
but
David,
we might
what?
revisit it again at some point. But one
Yeah.
thing kind of off topic that I do want to that I was thinking about yesterday when we were watching the movie that I've heard people joke about because I mentioned the Acolyte.
Mhm.
And you remember that scene in the Acolyte where they tried to do like the bleeding the kyber crystal?
Yeah.
So one joke that I had seen with that was like you know oh what was the character's name? Osha? Like oh
Yeah.
she was just making the decision to kill Soul what was enough to push her to the dark side, but then Anakin killing younglings wasn't.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna go that route for bleeding a kyber crystal, like in all honesty, Anakin should have turned red when he went into the Jedi Temple to kill all the Jedi.
Yeah. It probably should have been like full effect as Anakin's walking up, have his lightsaber ignited or whatever, or have it ignite it as he's walking up with that scene, and then have it like start to bleed red.
Mhm. But
Um, but
also,
yeah,
just kind of on that note, so, like again, I know I'm getting off topic, but um, if you actually dig into the lore, like feel like the way bleeding a kyber crystal was kind of more explained was like almost more like the way like Jedi like meditate with their lightsabers.
Yeah.
You know, they'll like take them
Hmm.
apart and like meditate with the crystal or whatever.
Hmm.
That was more how the Sith would bleed their kyber crystal. They had this crystal out of the lightsaber and they were like bending it to the like
They were
almost like the
focusing all their hate and rage and dark side energy
on it.
into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were bending it to
Um.
their will. That's more how like it's explained in Legends.
Well, also in Legends too, a lot of times they use synthetic crystals, as
Yeah,
opposed to using the ones from, um, what's the planet name? Um,
Ilum.
Ilum. Instead of using those, but like I feel like if they were to find or take or kill a Jedi and then take their lightsaber, they would bleed the crystal. But like recently, I recommended this to you. I read through Darth Maul Shadowhunter,
Mm,
which takes place like right before the events of A New Hope, like literally right before the end of the book. It sends
you mean
Obi-Wan
Phantom
and
Menace?
what did I say?
You said A New Hope.
Okay, well, anyways, Phantom Menace. It literally sends Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan at the end of the book to negotiations. Um, but Maul talks about building his lightsaber in that, and he talks about using a synthetic crystal as opposed to using a regular kyber crystal, and how the process of even bleeding that synthetic crystal uh, works and stuff like that.
Mm,
And so, but like, yeah, like it was a cool effect to watch in the show, but lore wise, didn't really make much sense.
yeah. Also, you're talking about the synthetic crystals. An interesting thing too is like I don't know if you remember this, but apparently in Return, originally like in the lore, it was kind of like assumed that Luke's new lightsaber was a synthetic crystal. The green was a synthetic crystal.
That's an
But I
interesting thought.
but I personally like the like theory that the green kyber crystal that Luke found in Obi-Wan's hut was Qui-Gon's kyber crystal.
Yeah,
I
I do
personally
like
like
that.
that theory. Yeah.
I do like that. That theory. Also, too, if you look at, I believe the way that, blah, 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 blah. The way that Luke's lightsaber looks in Return, it looks like a combination of both Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's lightsaber. You know, with like
Mm.
the front of it being more similar to Qui-Gon's, but then the back of it looking a little bit closer to Obi-Wan's. Not like exactly, but like I've always looked at that and thought of a mashup between the two a little bit.
Like
Which,
the emitter kind of looks like Obi-Wan's from like episode 3.
yeah,
Um and then like but I get what you're saying, like the middle part is like the same, like just kind of solid straight like the like Qui-Gon's.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I definitely, I personally like that theory a lot better than
Mm.
a synthetic one, or even him going off to Ilum and find another one. So, David, what's next up with news? Because I know we have a crap ton to get to.
Yeah. So I'm looking. Looks like there's only actually other one actual other trailer. Because there were a lot of announcements, and we'll get to those. But there's only one actual other trailer. Well, unless you want to watch what was that? Young Jedi Adventure Season 3.
Yay! I've been waiting for that show. You know, David, at some point, I'm going to come on here and talk to you about that because I will have a daughter who will be at the perfect age to watch that. And I got to
Mm-hmm.
immerse her in Star Wars somehow.
Yeah. But yeah. So the only other trailer I'm seeing here on the official Star Wars like YouTube page, because you don't know how it's kind of a side rant, but you don't know how annoying it is to look for trailers on YouTube and every trailer like you'll look up a trailer for look up like the trailer for something that actually has a trailer, but everything you find is fan made and it's like not the official trailer.
But they all say official trailer.
Yeah. So that's why I'm only looking on the Star Wars YouTube channel because how I'm gonna like basically guarantee this is actually a real trailer.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like I was looking for him like because I know they announced the Mandalorian or they like had a teaser or whatever at Star Wars Celebration for the Mandalorian and Grogu. The only like official one I found was just the logo and the date. Because
Yeah.
there were several like videos that said official trailer that just pulled clips from the Mandalorian season 3 and Ahsoka season 2 or season 1. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
There was a
So the
grainy.
first,
I don't know if Star Wars, the official uh, YouTube page, would post this. I did see a while back, and I have no idea what the username would have been to help you find this to be able to do it. But on Instagram, I saw like a low resolution trailer or video of at Star Wars Celebration. They showed like a sneak peek of something. And I don't know if you've seen that or not, but that's one thing. But this is all going to be like the actual official stuff.
yeah,
But anyways,
yeah. So
so what are we watching?
the only other trailer, like full trailer, was for Star Wars Zero Company, which is a game actually. Which again, I have not watched this trailer, so
I haven't seen this either, so this is new for both of us.
yeah.
I can't really say from what I've heard that I'm excited about this, but we'll see.
When people talk about the Clone Wars,
Okay, so EA is
they
helping
talk
make
about
this.
the big moments,
Of course, it's EA.
the crisis points.
Yeah. Definitely means that I'm not sure about this.
All out
Yeah.
assaults. Cities bombed to rubble. Truth is, there's a war you don't see. The one fought in the shadows. The war beneath the war. A war that's won with the right strategy. Surveillance. Ciphers. Good old-fashioned sabotage.
The trailer's gonna be cooler than the actual game.
Well, I don't know.
These aren't the heroes they tell stories
I want to
about.
see gameplay of it before I make up my mind about
They're
it.
professionals.
I know what it kind of
That's
what it's gonna
fair.
be, but yeah,
Gameplay does definitely. Is that an Umbaran?
I think that was an Embarrassed Shadow
Setting
Trooper.
aside their differences to take on
That's
the
interesting.
impossible.
Yeah. I'll definitely wait to see gameplay, but I'm not hopeful for this game being good
Yeah.
or of any interest. It says it's a tactical turn-based game or something like that.
They get it done.
That's an Umbaran.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing to include. Okay, make that. Stop what you're doing and make that.
There's gameplay.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like a mobile game.
It does, yeah.
Like, why do this? Spend a little bit more time and make an actual, like, first-person shooter.
Yeah, like. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do.
Like who is asking for this? You know?
I don't know. Look, I mean, here's the thing with games like that. Like,
EA
don't
needs
know,
to
I feel
stick to sports.
like an RTS would be better than that. Like, or more of an RTS. Like if you're gonna do like a game like that where you're not like actually like actively control, like you're just giving orders to different like people, like
Yeah.
give us like large scale battles where we can like mobilize troops and stuff and actually have like
Yeah.
like an actual like RTS like war game kind of a thing than that.
Completely random, but very important. Apparently, I found out the other day that Sarah has never played Risk. You and I need to play Risk with her at some point. If you and I can remember how to play Risk.
We'll get a Star Wars Risk and stream it.
There we go. There we go.
Actually,
That sounds like a plan.
I don't know if we'll actually do that. Because that
Probably
will
not.
take forever.
To set up, that would be a lot to set up. Unless there's like a online version that we could play, that would be a little easier.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll look into
Yeah.
that and probably never do it.
Yeah. But anyway, those were all of our actual trailers that we got from
That being said, it's not all the news. There is
there's
not a
still
trailer out currently for any of the Star Wars Celebration stuff, right?
I didn't see any other trailers or anything for any of this other stuff. I just saw there are announcements out. So let me see
Okay.
if I can find. I had an article a minute ago I thought that had like all of the um all the art all the stuff that was announced.
Hey, real quick. Oh, never mind. This might not be exactly what. Let me see what this is. I don't want a breakdown. I just want the trailer.
Yeah, that was also another thing, finding the actual trailer for stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably go through some things, but
Well, okay,
it'd
so
probably just be easier to not worry about it.
yeah. So there were several things that I'm actually a little bit excited about for um from Star Wars Celebration. So obviously, so I'll just read the stuff off in order, and we can talk about it in order on this article. This article is actually from uh the D23 website, so it's actually like an official Disney website, but it's about Star Wars Celebration.
All right.
So the first thing that it lists here is Star Wars Starfighter. So how much do you know about this?
I know that Ryan Gosling's supposed to be in it.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling is supposed to be in it. So basically, from what I understand, it's going to be a basically like Top Gun in the Star Wars universe.
And it makes sense why they would choose Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. Um. So there's actually a little bit of a description here actually.
I say, does it
So let's see.
say anything about when it takes place?
So yeah, this weekend started off with a bang thanks to the news and an all new theatrical release exploring more of the Star Wars galaxy. There's supposed to be a space there. This is an official Disney website, and they said Star Wars Galaxy, but they did not put a space between Wars and Galaxy. Anyway.
I mean, someone's getting fired.
Yeah, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy and chief creative officer Dave Filoni brought directors Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling to the stage to discuss Star Wars Starfighter, an all-new standalone adventure taking place approximately 5 years after the events of 2019 Star Wars Episode 9: The Rise of Skywalker.
So this takes place after the prequel sequel trilogy.
Yes, sequel trilogy. The film, which will begin production this fall, will feature all new characters and is set in a time not yet explored on screen. Star Wars Starfighter is currently scheduled to release on May 28th of 2027.
A lot of stuff gonna be coming out 2027.
So, I don't know. That it sounds like it could be interesting, and if they're going to set it after the sequels, probably a good idea to separate yourself from the sequels completely because like it said all new characters and stuff, so probably a good thing to try to distance yourself from the sequels, in all honesty.
Yeah.
um Now I don't know if you, well, I was about to move on, but do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay. um the next thing in this article is Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord.
Mm-hmm.
and there's actually not much that it says about this. It just says the celebration of Lucasfilm Animation's 20th anniversary ended with the announcement many fans have been waiting for: a brand new animated series, Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord, starring Sam Witwer, and is set to premiere on Disney Plus in 2026, so next year. And
Apparently, good.
I'm assuming this is going to be another. It didn't specify the director or whatever, but I'm assuming this is going to be another Filoni show.
Um, apparently with this too, this is going to take place after Maul's Clone Wars stuff happens.
Mm.
And takes place, with what Maul's doing essentially throughout the 20-year gap of Revenge of the Sith, The New Hope.
Well,
Um,
15-year gap from where we see him in
fair
Clone
enough.
Wars and where we see him in
Yeah.
Rebels.
There has been leaked footage from Star Wars Celebration that shows that we might end up getting to see, forgetting her name. What's the Darth lady who was supposed to be part of George's original trilogy or original prequel trilogy
Oh, Darth
with
Talon?
the Talon? Yeah, I would say the Twilight. There's leaked footage that possibly is going to allude to being her, as in Maul might be training her. And there were some other things that Sam Witwer has had different interviews where he has said different things. There may not be much in the article, and I may not be able to find much besides those few interviews. But there was some different news with it. Oh yeah, one thing I did want to mention was apparently a lot of the people who worked on the Force Unleashed games are working on this. So there might be some Easter eggs, ties, different things like that, which would be interesting to see. Obviously, Force Unleashed is not canon, but they can still pay homage to it. Which one thing that I hadn't noticed until recently, I was watching something. I don't remember what it would have been, some kind of breakdown. But there's a bunch of different Easter eggs for different things in Star Wars in Luthen's shop in Andor, and one of them is the Star Killer armor, which is like
Okay.
in the background. That
Yeah.
I noticed this past time because they show it in one of the first episodes here, but I hadn't noticed in the first season. Well, they also show like Plo Koon's mask. It may not be actually his, but it's the type of mask that Plo Koon would have worn. Some other different Easter eggs there, but definitely interesting to see those things. Oh wait, this is another thing that I wanted to mention with it. Apparently, Maul Shadow Lord will reveal why Maul didn't reveal Palpatine's identity as Darth Sidious to the Jedi and stayed loyal to him during the Clone Wars. So dive into some of those things too within the show. And I think that's all that
Interesting.
I have learned or know or seen about the show. So we can move on from that.
Yeah. So this article doesn't actually go into a whole lot of detail. Like it completely leaves out the Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka season 2. Just interesting. But there's I guess three more things that we might be able to talk about a little bit. So apparently they're making a sequel to Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy.
I hadn't heard about this. I like that.
Or a season 2, I guess.
Okay, here's
I
the thing. Lego Star Wars has always been peak Star Wars. Like, it's funny. It usually has somewhat of a good story. Now, they haven't made it like they used to, and even Lego Rebuild the Galaxy was not like what they used to. But that was still fun to watch. Like, that is probably one of our least watched videos. I think I might have like 1 or 2 views on it at most. But I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a
Mhm.
fun time. I enjoyed watching it, you
Yeah.
know. But we've talked about that before. But anyways, that's cool.
Yeah, so
Continue.
so here. Yeah, I'll read the description here. So Ahmed Best took to the Star Wars Live stage to announce a new LEGO Star Wars animated sequel series, LEGO Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy: Pieces of the Past. In Pieces of the Past, a
Hmm.
new threat rises in the galaxy as Sig and Darth Dev must combine their powers of the Force building, and Sith breaking to stop it. Alongside Jedi Bob, Yessi uh, Sela, and Servo. They will journey into the deepest corners of LEGO Star Wars lore, uncovering pieces of the galaxy that have never come before.
Hmm.
So we're getting more Jedi Bob. Also,
Yes.
the poster here that I'm looking at. So you remember the Lego's got a bunch of other stuff they do other than like minifigs. They've got like the brick heads and then the like I forget what they call them, but basically like the Bionicle things, but like they do like actual like licensed ones now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's one of those of Chewbacca in the poster, and then there's a brick
Well,
head for Ahsoka. So
interesting. So I'm gonna
yeah,
look this up because I'm curious. What'd you say the thing?
Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy:
Ah, I
Pieces
see it.
of the Past.
It says possibly coming out September 19th, 2025.
Yep, that's the date I'm seeing here. And there's apparently a
Interesting.
rabbit too.
Rabbit. Let's see. Interesting. But yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. Like I thought it was really good. It was one of the few things that Disney Star Wars has made in recent years that wasn't completely awful.
Mm. Now,
While I'm dealing with this, what else do we got?
so there is another thing that, and
I
I'll
see
be
it.
honest,
I see it now.
I have
Continue.
not kept up with Star Wars Visions. It is a
Are there?
definitely interesting concept, but it's
You
just
said there's two seasons?
yes, it is an anthology. It's an anthology, but I have not kept up with it. I only watched like maybe a few episodes out of season one,
I think I
but
finished season one. I don't think I ever
yeah,
realized there was a season two.
yeah. Maybe that is something we need to talk about at some point. But
I thought it was good. It was interesting, at least.
yeah. So on
Eh,
Sunday, fans got a first look at Volume 3 of Star Wars Visions, which is set to debut on October 29th, 2025, exclusively on Disney Plus. With Volume 3, the animated anthology returns to where it all began, with 9 shorts from 9 different anime studios, the further to further demonstrate the diversity and creativity of Japanese animation. Um,
Um, so I just pulled up Disney Plus because I was curious. I've only watched 2 episodes.
yeah, but
Okay.
the see here, hang on. Additionally, James Rott, Lucasfilm's senior vice president, franchise content and strategy. That's a long title. Okay. Um, who also
What are you?
serves
I
as
am 3 hours later.
yeah, um, who also serves as an executive producer on Star Wars Visions, announced that the series will continue with the creation of an all-new banner called Star Wars Visions Presents, which will be used to tell longer form Star Wars Visions stories. Um, let me
Sounds
skim
cool.
through this real quick. Um, yeah, and then they announced the Ninth Jedi, which
Yeah,
apparently is
yeah.
going to be like a movie, I think.
Interesting.
The Ninth Jedi will premiere on Disney Plus in 2026.
Interesting.
Mm,
Interesting. I'm intrigued. I definitely think this is a good move for Star Wars. I
mm,
think get back into the animation, do that for a little while, give us some good animated shows, and take a seat for a second on some of the live action stuff. Like obviously, I understand Mandalorian, Grogu, Ahsoka, all this stuff is coming out soon, and even Starfighter. That's another thing that we're sitting here talking about. But put more of a focus on some of the animated stuff because I feel like they've done a really good job with that recently. Still, give us some wins, and then some easy wins, and then we can work on some of the harder stuff.
mm. And then the last thing in this article, the last thing in this article is just about a new Disney World um ride.
We gonna go to Disney World, David?
Wasn't planning on it, but yeah, maybe we should. I don't know.
Start a blog. Start a blog with it.
A vlog, you mean? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But
Okay, fair enough. I don't have to keep up with what the internet says things are.
yeah. But apparently it's got like it's gonna have characters like Hondo in it. Um,
Hmm.
so in the banner for this article, it literally has a picture of Jon Favreau with the Grogu puppet and Pedro Pascal is right there. But in this article, it mentions nothing about the Mandalorian and Grogu.
Interesting. They said, "Hey, we're gonna draw you in. Hey, we're not gonna tell you nothing."
Mm.
That's
Or
funny.
Ahsoka season 2. But I don't know if you've heard anything about these two properties from Star Wars Celebration.
Are you asking, or are you gonna tell me something?
I was segueing you to talk.
Oh, cool. I see. I didn't pick up on that. Um. So yeah. I do have one thing to mention. So apparently, Star Wars that doesn't need to be preference. Ahsoka season 2 is going to be starting to shoot sometime around now. It may even be starting now to shoot. Um, because apparently after Star Wars Celebration, once they got back, they were going to start shooting it. Now, what I do want to talk about is Balin Skull.
Mm,
Obviously, we've talked about it a decent amount, and if you're into Star Wars, you know this. But Ray Stevenson passed away not long, actually, I think before the premiere of Ahsoka season 1. And he played the character of Balin Skull, probably one of the most interesting characters from Ahsoka. Um, but they have gotten him to, they have replaced him. They're not going to do a deep fake. Um, Dave Filoni has spoken to the family and gotten their uh, consent, blessing, whatever you want to say, for Star Wars to continue the story of Balin Skull without Ray Stevenson with a different actor. Um, so they are using the actor, we've talked about this before, but they are using Roy McCain. I think he's best known for something he's done with Game of Thrones, I believe. I have not seen it. I have no idea. I just know that he's in association with something with Game of Thrones. Um, and that's like a big role that he was a part of. But there's some first looks, David, for this. I don't know if you want to look to pull up your I know you just took it away, but if you want to pull up on Instagram some of the photos of the way he looks pretty good. I'll say that much. Obviously, it's not going to be an exact side by side comparison, but I think that this is going to be a good casting choice for it. Apparently, I've also heard that they were friends. Uh, Roy McCain and Ray Stevenson. So that's
mm,
also a good thing. A lot of times, he'll be paying a lot of respect to the role. So I'm excited to see, that it when this happened and we were talking about Ahsoka season 1. There was a lot of things that we were unsure of what was going to end up happening with the character because such an interesting character. But if the actors passed away, how are we going to see the character again, and how are we going to learn more about him? Well, now we
mm,
know how he's going to come back to us on the screen, and we are going to get to see more. They're not going to stop his story, so that is a good thing, and I'm excited to see what they do in Ahsoka season 2. But another thing that we have learned about this is apparently the Ahsoka season 2 is going to be a lot like a uh it's going to be a lot like a war movie.
Hmm. I did see that
And
where it's gonna be like
also,
a lot. Yeah,
go ahead.
so I did see that where it's gonna be like. I think you even mentioned it earlier. Like it's gonna be like Akbar and Thrawn are kind of like going at it.
Yeah, it's gonna be, and I think that's a great character to bring in and say, this. I mean, Akbar is known on the rebel side of
I mean,
things
okay,
as
but
as
also,
the guy, the tactician, stuff like that, and Thrawn's obviously who Thrawn is.
also, but you can't feel like you can't lead into Heir to the Empire without having Akbar as a like prominent figure.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because
and
I know just from the way Star Wars is now, from all the canon stuff Star Wars put out, more recently, the Thrawn trilogy would not work as is. But
yeah,
I want them to at least try to adapt it as well as they can.
yeah, definitely. And like you said, Akbar is a very prominent character in those books, and it is a good thing that and this also being that he's going to play a prominent role in, or at least is going to be a big part of what happens in this next season, shows that more than likely they're kind of starting to lead in that direction, which is a good
Mm.
thing. So I'm excited to see. I had a lot of issues with Ahsoka the first season. Um, you know, I loved the character of Ahsoka from the Clone Wars, and I just felt like it didn't quite do her justice with the way that she had been portrayed. Nothing against Rosario Dawson. I think she's still a great actor. I think she can play the role great. I just don't see the character turning out like she does. But that aside from the fact, I'm still excited to see what they do with season 2 of the show. And I'm looking forward to this. Um, to see how they continue the story because it's still a very interesting story. Um, Now I'm trying to find some stuff. Awful segue, but I'm trying to find some stuff about the Mandalorian and Grogu, which is another thing. Um, uh, Another thing that we will be discussing here, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of it. I remembered seeing more of it, but now I can't find anything. When is that supposed to be coming out, David?
Ahsoka season 2.
No, transitioning over to Mandalorian and Grogu.
Oh, 2026. I don't know if there's an actual release date for it yet. Oh, May 22nd, 2026.
Okay, so about a year from now should be getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot. There was a brief thing that I saw that was a teaser. I think it was a sneak peek and then a teaser trailer for it, or a trailer for it. Seen at Star Wars Celebration. The biggest thing that I remember from it is Ratso the Hutt.
Mm-hmm.
And he is fully grown now. He's a full Hutt.
Oh, really? Wow.
So it's interesting. I mean, obviously it's been a couple years, but it'll be interesting, some random character that we meet in a movie like The Clone Wars and, appearing again here. So I believe that our information on the fact that it's supposed to have something to do with Rata the Hutt, something that he needs Mando to do. I believe is still the case, or he's protecting Rata. I don't know, but I think Embiid, from what I've heard, is supposed to be one of the villains or the main villain or something like that. Mandalorian season 1 was good. Mandalorian season 2 was pretty good or really good. And I don't know how I feel about the Mandalorian right now. I don't know if it's just because of season 3, but like this isn't really like something that I'm like chomping at the bit to get.
I hope it's better in season 3, but like I don't know. Season 1 was really good, kind of refreshing um after the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
But okay,
Am I
here's
allowed?
my thing.
Go ahead.
Here's my thing with a lot of this stuff. I don't know how I feel about like everything Star Wars coming out because look at the current state of Marvel,
Yeah.
and arguably Star Wars is in a worse state, but like we don't need the oversaturation thing to be an even bigger deal
Yeah.
with Star Wars.
More issues and yeah.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that I'm tired of Pedro Pascal too? Like the hype with him? Am I allowed to say that, or is that a no? Is he
I
too
never got
too hyped up
honestly,
now?
honestly, I never got the Pedro Pascal thing. Like,
Well, that's the thing is like I never understood it, and now I'm just tired of it because he's
yeah.
everywhere and everything, and like I'm just like I don't get it. Like
I mean,
I
okay,
don't
he
I
was
don't
cool.
get
He
it.
was he was good in The Mandalorian. That's the first thing I actually like saw him in, and then it's like, oh,
Then he's
now
everywhere.
he's Reed Richards. It's like what? Like,
Yeah, stealing the role from John Krasinski. They gave the
mm,
fans a taste, and then they said, "Nah,
yeah. Anyway,
I don't know."
I don't really know how much else there is to talk about. With a lot of this stuff, I'm sure we can find something, but we've been recording for an hour and 45 minutes, and we're both tired. Oh,
Yeah,
so
you woke me up too early, David.
yeah, sure.
I'm still getting used to waking up early. It's a lifetime battle I found.
Yeah, I got to sleep
But
in
either
this
way,
morning.
yeah, your definition and mine are two different things.
Anyway, um, yeah, I don't know where
Yeah,
else to go from here, so why don't
I
you go
think I
ahead and
think
just close this out here?
yeah,
Unless you
I
have any final
definitely think
thoughts.
that I think we're definitely done for the day with this episode. We touched on pretty much everything that we hadn't been able to touch on for the past 2 episodes. And we're finally caught up, I think, with Star Wars news. Um, no promises that we're going to stay up to date with it because, like David said, we got a ton of stuff going on. So sometimes we're going to have to, record ahead of time, and we'll miss things. But we'll try and get back on those things. Andor season 2, watch it. We will be talking about that in the next episode, which will be 2 weeks from now. So there will be, I believe, 9 episodes out at that time, David. So we're gonna have our hands full with stuff to talk about.
And and another thing that's coming out
And
next week, or another thing that's coming out next week is Tales of the Underworld.
that's coming out this day. But what? I didn't realize that
May
was coming out
4th.
so quickly.
May 4th, yeah.
All right. Well, David, we're going to be having our hands full. We might need to step it up and get a.
Yeah.
I don't think we have the time for it, but maybe we should go back to weekly. Just for a brief period of time. Alrighty, well, watch all this stuff. We are going to be talking about it. We are going to be giving our thoughts, breakdowns, things that we caught, and all that will be what we will be talking about next time on The Price is Right. I don't know why that came to mind. But anyways, thank you for watching this whole entire episode. If you did, please leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. It does nothing for you, but it helps us out a ton. So please, it's free. We will charge you nothing for it. And then also, if you could, leave a comment down below. Tell us what you liked about the episode, what you didn't like. And with that, this has been X-Wing Radio. And I am looking at the bear. I'm entranced by the bear.
Now this is podcasting.
And this is podcasting. Alrighty. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.